Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And the topic of this 10-minute moan is the story that Ruth Wishart, the Nationalist journalist, has provoked a bit of anger as she claims Scottish independence is more important and more urgent than kids that are being stabbed. And I didn't believe it either till I found her tweet saying that exact thing. So this was covered by the Scottish Daily Express. And their story goes, a prominent nationalist journalist has provoked anger after suggesting that breaking up the UK is more important than combating rising levels of youth violence in Scotland. This will be the youth violence in Scotland that's seen a spate of recent murders as a pure, I would say, uniting effect on the whole of the United Kingdom, where people are concerned by knife crime and youth knife crime. At that, Ruth Wishart made the comment in the hours after John Swinney announced yet another summit to curb dangerous teenagers. The First Minister will bring together charities, politicians and public sector groups in a bid to reassure families and the public after a spate of tragic deaths. 2 teenagers were allegedly knifed to death in separate incidents in the Central Belt in the past 4 months. Caden Moy, 16, was killed in Irvine Beach following a disturbance, with 3 youths being charged in connection with the death. Meanwhile, Aman Teckley, 15, was also pronounced dead in Glasgow in March after allegedly being stabbed, with 3 teenagers facing court. It's led to claims that the SNP government is not doing enough to deter youths from committing serious crimes due to soft-touch sentencing rules, which include a presumption against jailing anyone under 18. Mr Swinney is holding a 3rd youth violence summit this summer to combat this. That's kind of definition of an idiot, isn't it? By doing the same thing again and expecting a different result is pretty potty. However, I would still suggest this is better use of his time than having a summit in independence, as we'll come to, which Ruth Wishart suggested. But this decision has been questioned by independence supporting journalist Ms Wishart, who was intent that breaking up the UK should come before teenagers killing each other. She wrote on X, "A summit on youth violence is fine. A summit on independence is rather more urgent." Now, something bizarre happened here, right? This is a tweet here, so it really did happen, right? It wasn't made up. And I thought, I'm going to go and leave a comment. But then I noticed, lo and behold, there we go, unblocked by Miss Wishart. Now this is amazing because I can't ever remember tweeting Miss Wishart. I can't remember ever having a conversation with her. I can't remember ever responding to her. That's not to say I haven't, but I can't remember. However, she's blocked me. So I'm not allowed to leave one of my witty retorts to her inane tweet, which is somewhat unfortunate and slightly depressing because I would have sharpened my pencil quite a bit to get a retort in there, but lo and behold, I can. So that's a tweet, absolutely bonkers. Our comments were slated by opposition politicians who highlighted that some nationalist independence trumps even the safety of our children. Scottish Labour MP Michael Shanks said, "I've worked in youth justice, been in Pullman, met people whose lives have been torn apart by knife crime. Tell them your constitutional grievance is more urgent than stopping young lives being lost to violence." A very good point, sir. Glasgow Labour's MP Dr Zubair Ahmed responded, having operated on multiple young people, usually in the middle of the night, who were usually victims of life-threatening stabbings. "I must disagree with Wishart. The longest walk for a surgeon is the one from the operating theatre to the relatives' room, to tell the parents of a young man that we tried, but we couldn't save." That's humbling words from the doctor. Fellow Scottish Labour MP, did they not go to anybody that's not Labour MP? Anyway, Scott Arthur added, "Proof that the elite in Scotland's independence movement are increasingly out of touch with the priorities of ordinary Scots." I agree with that. And his colleague John Grady said, "Having met victims of youth violence and parents who have lost their beloved children to knife crime, I politely disagree with what Ruth says." I wouldn't put it politely at all, mate. That is bonkers. If you think it's more urgent that we deal with Scottish independence than knife crime when young people are dying, lives are ruined. Not only just the person who's murdered and their families' lives are ruined. But the person who done the attack generally have their lives ruined as well, despite the cuddly, comfy sentences that they generally get. So it is a massive problem. Oh, they found something that's not Labour. Scottish Tory MP Jamie Halcron-Johnston wrote, Nationalist priorities laid bare. Separatism trumps keeping kids safe. Mr Swinney had been urged by some in the SNP to hit the independence button to save the party from potential Holyrood electoral defeat next year. But he has been told to ensure that this new youth violence summit isn't just a talking shop with no positive outcomes. He is becoming infamous for holding summits about issues such as conquering the far right and stopping reform, but these having no substantial impact. And I come across this all the time. I kind of see this in front of my very eyes a lot when I put posts, particularly on Twitter, which is a bit bonkers at times. And it kind of doesn't matter what you're talking about. Independence is all that matters to some. And it's independence at all cost. And with someone who's supposedly as educated as Ruth Wisher and is experienced, it's kind of bonkers that they see fit to suggest that a summit on independence is actually more urgent than potentially saving the lives, not just of the victims, but also of those perpetrating the crimes. And that's kind of just shows you where their priorities are. It is independence at all costs. Ignore everything else. The only thing they want to talk about, the only thing they want to govern on, the only thing they want discussed, the only thing they want to judge people on is your beliefs on the constitutional question of Scotland. What I would love is for Scotland, just for 5 years, maybe 10 at a push. Staying up to date with events around the world can be difficult, where it's impossible to consult a single source for the full story. Narratives that shape public opinion often just reinforce media and corporate-backed vested interests. It's hard to know what information to trust. See what the media is exaggerating, sensationalising, over or under reporting. That's why I've been using Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that combines news from around the world in one place so you can compare coverage. For every news source, you can see if it has any political bias, how reliable the reporting is, and who owns them. They even have a blind spot feed that highlights news disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. Take a data-driven view on the news and stay current. Get news from thousands of sources worldwide in one place. I've been using Ground News to help me get all the world's news in one place and give a more balanced opinion on what we read and viewing who is telling us the truth and who isn't. Subscribe via my link to get 40% off the Vantage subscription. It's the one I use to get unlimited access to every feature. Your subscription can not only help my channel, but also help Ground News, as it makes the media landscape more transparent. To try and govern without that constant noise, because that's all it is. We've got a group of people, I think they're called Salvo, who believe the UN will grant Scotland independence based on their truth, their belief that Scotland's a colony. Now, by doing that and accepting that opinion that Scotland's a colony, you have to ignore two big things. That is the 1707 entrant of the Union and the 2014 democratic vote by the Scottish people. And you get these people and they come up with, but the Declaration of Arbroath, that was signed. Aye, you're right, it was signed. It was signed by a load of people who, about a third of them, because I looked into every single one of them, fell out with each other, with some within months of signing the Declaration of Arbroath and actually vehemently opposed it thereafter. But what we have to do is we have to take the signature on a piece of paper of hundreds of years ago of about 90 people who declared Scotland is independent, freedom, all that stuff, right? And we have to ignore that. Right? We have to ignore two things that happened after that. That is the signing of the Treaty of Union and the democratic vote by people only 10 years ago. Because they believe that the UN will grant us as an independent country because they believe Scotland is a colony. They're actually got a guy sitting in the UN just now, and I find it incredible because he's away to New York to talk to the UN about this possibility of them declaring that Scotland's a colony, and by default of that, they then become independent, right? But while he was there, he's been tweeting out ideas on how Scotland becomes independent. So the guy sent to task to get this through the UN doesn't even believe in his own actions, because if he believed this was a shooty-in penalty kick, then you wouldn't need any other vehicle for independence. So the whole stinking lot of them are bonkers, right? And it's getting madder by the day. Let's stop the noise. I'm not saying people shouldn't have and be able to have the notion of an independent Scotland, because if you decide that that's not allowed as a notion, then what day is it we become that having as part of the union is not allowed as a notion? So I'm kind of not wanting that. But what I would like is stop the noise, just for a wee bit, till we try and sort Scotland and make it a better place for those who want to spend an eternity talking about independence. So please, let's get with the programme. Let's get a bit of sense. So if you enjoyed this video, please click a thumbs up, put some comments below and hit the share button. If you've not already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. However, the most important thing of all, unless you're the type of crackpot that thinks either A, we should have independence summits before stopping kids getting murdered by knife summits, or B, that Scotland is somehow a colony and the UN's going to come over and save the day and give us an independent Scotland. Well, not you. But
everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.